So we're talking about the path. I want to lay out like, what is the path? What are we even talking about? So this is how I see it. This is a timeline, and on the left side is your birth, and on the right side is like the future, I guess, death or whatever, just the future. And so this is where we've been. This is where I've been. If I do nothing else, this is what the rest of my life will look like. The initial event is like that disconnection from my parents and feeling like if I am fully myself, bad things are going to happen. That's the hurt. And this hurt is kind of sometimes triggered and sometimes it's kind of dormant and I'm not thinking about it and it's not impacting my life. But then other times it is triggered and sometimes it's not. But, it's this pattern I have in my life. And this goes for really any pattern and any hurt and any initial event. And there's this feeling of like, I'm in lack. I'm lacking what I needed in order to get back to normal, right? In order to move from red to blue. So I'm lacking something. So I feel like I'm in lack. And I feel like that's been this pervasive feeling in my life of like, my life, it looks good. Like, I'm okay. I'm safe. A lot of people would probably want to switch places with me. Um, like on paper, my life looks good, but it feels bad. And so why does it feel bad? Well, it's this. It's that I feel like I'm in lack. I'm lacking vitality. That's kind of the thing I'm like holding on to now. Lacking vitality. I have another gnat. All right. So in the past, I've been in lack. And today, if I don't do anything else, I would be in lack. And if nothing changes in the future, I'm going to be in lack. And I wrote, I need X, meaning I need something that I didn't get back here. Okay. So this is what 99.9% of humans are living right now. Something happened, they didn't get what they needed. They were hurt and they are just going to live the rest of their lives in this pattern, in this intelligent they had an intelligent adaptation that allowed them to literally survive right here. And that adaptation is just going to continue forever, even though the situation is changing. And now they're an adult, or now they have kids, or now they have grandkids, or whatever. The nervous system is like kind of a hardwired thing. So once something is hardwired, you got to do a lot of emotional work to unhardwire it, to like loosen it up and change it. And in our society, people just don't do that by default. They will just suffer and cope. We talk about coping. I hate the word coping. Oh, I hate coping behaviors in my life because I'm like, a cope is like a band-aid. And that's okay in the short term. But in the long term, it's like, I want to heal the wound. I don't want to put a band-aid over the wound because coping leads to this. It's just continuous feeling of lack. And our lives get worse over time instead of getting better. And to me, that's not acceptable. Like, I know I'm going to die one day. I cannot, like, if my life is just going to get worse, then like, I don't want to be here. You know what I mean? So that's why it's important to me to be like, okay, what do I need to do for my life to improve? So this is the path if we do nothing. You have initial hurt from when we were kids, and it's stacked up. Hurt from high school, hurt from your early 20s, hurt from if you're older, hurt from literally all of your entire life combined, that is just sitting there stored in your body. But it's also, in my opinion, my understanding is it's weighted more heavily towards the beginning of your life. So if something like hurts right now, me tomorrow or something, it can certainly impact me. And it depends on how serious the thing is. But really, these childhood wounds are so much more. They carry so much more weight on the development of our nervous system because they happened first. So like that was like the initial conditions. And the things that happen to me now are happening in the context of these old things. And I'm also like a fully developed adult at this point. So my nervous system isn't really like learning and changing the way that it was when I was like 2 years old, right? Just a note. So here is the joyful, exciting, hopeful part. We can change this, guys. We can change this. This is an alternative timeline. So we have the same initial event. We have the same, this is the past. Okay. The past is like, it's over. It's done. We can't do anything about it. We needed X. We didn't get X and we were lacking. And that sucks. What we can do now, this honestly should be like here, like today, is we can grieve. This book, the Drama of the Gifted Child, talks about how if we have this void, this hurt from our childhood, we should not be trying to fill the void. This is classic stuff, right? We all understand filling the void doesn't work. Everyone tries it. Billionaires try it by getting more money, and people with addictions try it with numbing and addiction. The void is not possible to fill. But we don't need to fill the void because we're now adults and we don't actually need unconditional love today in order to live. What we need is to grieve our situation, to feel all of the pain and hurt that we're still carrying from the situation that we had in our past, right? So it's grief, grief, grief. It's already in us. We don't have to do anything. It's just we need to allow and feel the grief of like, wow, I was a kid who didn't get what he needed. That's something I've really been sitting with. And one of the things that has completely changed my own perspective on who I am is like, I'm not someone who's broken. I'm someone who did not get what he needed as a kid and was forced to adapt. And now I have these adaptations that have made my life subjectively way worse since I was a kid. Like in adulthood, it's made my life way worse. I've been avoiding stuff. I've been fearful of stuff. I've been anxious. I've been depressive. I haven't been able to access vitality. Like that fucking sucks. And so it's not even like a cognitive thing. It's not even like, like let's sit down and grieve this. It's like I've just been sitting on my couch for 2 hours a night. Sometimes I use AI to kind of help me like find an emotion and like coax out some of that grief feeling. But just sitting with that and being like, wow, like I didn't deserve that. And it didn't have to be this way. And I'm sorry that happened. And relating to my younger self in a way that nobody did when I was a kid. Right. So it's hard. It's hard stuff. And that's why the choice to go down that path is courageous. So when we're grieving, which is, I'd say, the place I am now, instead of feeling like I need unconditional love, let's say, the thinking is I needed unconditional love as a kid and I didn't get it. I was in lack. Okay. See how those are different things? It's not I'm in lack now. It's wow, I was in lack. And grief comes up and I feel the grief and I allow it to be here. We'll talk more about this, about like how to do this and the conditions under which it makes sense to do this. So we've grieved or we are grieving. I don't know how long this green path is. In my mind, I'm like, I will be in this grief for as long as it takes. It could be months, it could be years. I don't know. And it's going to be different for everybody. So how long it takes me is not necessarily how long it would take you. But why would we do this? Why do this at all? Right? Why grieve? Why dig up all this shit from our past? Because when we grieve that stuff, it is no longer in the present. It is in the past. It is over with. It is part of our story still, and we can still respect it. And it can obviously still be a part of who we are. But we can then live in the purple. I'm calling it the purple, which is a state of feeling like I don't need unconditional love today. I am no longer in lack. So that is where we are finally not hurt. We've been hurt. We've been in the red all this time. I've been. The purple is a place where I am no longer hurt. I think people generally, like in American society at least, think that this happens on its own. This going from like hurt to, let's say, going from red to purple, just like is automatically happening. And then we'll be like, you're a grown adult, like you shouldn't be expressing all this rage. But it's like all this rage is still there from childhood and it was never grieved. And the tragic situation was never grieved. So the person was never able to move into purple. Um, yeah. So hopefully that makes sense. For me, there's another piece of this, but like this is the thing of like vitality, fully expressing yourself, feeling like you are lovable, feeling like who you are uh, is not going to make people dislike you, right? It's just there's no more wounds, and your nervous system is completely healed at this point too. So your nervous system is not so sensitive and is not so um, like hyper fixated on like trying to predict problems because you're like I'm good, I can handle it. Like whatever happens, I know I can handle. That's the goal. That's where we're going. That's where I'm going. That's where I help people get to. This is the path. What I want to note, by definition, the way that I'm conceiving of this, it gets harder for a bit before it gets easier forever. So this is a similar timeline as this, but now there's another axis, which is fun versus not fun. And this is life. Okay. So I've been in red for a long time. And obviously there's fluctuations and sometimes I'm having fun and stuff. But generally my condition has been like, this is like not fun. Like something's wrong. I don't know what's going on. What's wrong? This is the courageous choice to grieve now that I've read the book and now that I understand what the choice even is. Being in grief and feeling all of these repressed emotions. We talked about humiliation, devastation, annihilation, uh, mortification, a ton of grief, right? It sucks. I'll let you know right there. It sucks. It gets into more and more not fun. And I've been experiencing this. And when I reach out to like people in my life, they're like, I'm so sorry you're going through such a shitty time. And I'm like, yeah, I guess. But, and like, I appreciate them saying that, obviously. But in my mind, I'm like, yes, I'm going through shit. And yes, it's probably worse than my prior baseline, but it's like an investment. I'm investing my time and energy, and in some cases, money to, work with my therapists and my coaches to like for the benefit of purple, of getting to purple. And this is like, in my mind, this is guaranteed that purple follows green. Like I can't imagine being in grief for the rest of my life. Like that just doesn't make sense to me because I've had a finite number of like hard things that have happened, and that's just not really how grief um I don't know of anyone else who 70 years later is still grieving their childhood. Like it just doesn't take that long. I don't know how long it's going to take, but between like a month and like 70 years, somewhere in there. And after that, and every time you grieve, I kind of wish I drew this a little bit differently, but every time you grieve, every time you let out an emotion, you're like climbing this purple ladder. So it's not like you have to like wait until it's all done at the very end you get to feel purple. It's like any little improvement, any little feeling that you're able to release and feel, and like you're climbing the ladder up to purple. And you'll know that because situations will come up where you are now behaving differently than you ever have before. You're seeing it differently. You are um, conceiving of the situation differently. You're perceiving less risk than you did before. Maybe you're putting yourself out there more. You're sharing more. This is like when I called my uh, friend and said like, "Hey, I'm feeling really shitty right now. I just like became aware of something that happened in my childhood that it's really hard to look at. Like, um, can you kind of be in this with me? Like, I don't need you to solve it or say anything. Um, but could you just kind of listen to me for a while? And that was great. And it moved me up this purple a bit. And I still kind of feel like I'm below this line. Like I'm still kind of having less fun than I was at baseline, but I'm certain like the momentum is that we're moving in that direction. So the red dotted line here is like the alternative of like not doing the work. And so you see that like in the short term, it's kind of like, like I don't really want to do the work because the dotted line is actually better. But in the long term, it's like, no, it's way, 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 way better to do the work than to not. Maybe you've already read this, but I'm going to go over it anyway. The red here is this feeling of something is and always has been wrong with me and always will be. That's how I felt. And that's the thing that is like, I'll go here, I'll go back a slide. That's this. That's this like something's wrong with me. I don't know what it is. I need unconditional love, but it's not available. I'm in lack. That's red. Green is I'm grieving that I was made to feel like something was wrong with me. Maybe nothing's wrong with me. Maybe my caregivers just didn't have the capacity to meet my needs, and that actually had nothing to do with me. This would have happened to any kid that they happened to have. It really is not because of anything I did. And that's where I am now. It's like kind of, it's a murky place. It's like a lot of gray areas, and some days it's good and some days it's hard, but eventually we get to purple. And purple is like obviously nothing's wrong with me. Like someone like you just it's not even like you're thinking about like is something wrong with me? It's just like you have no doubt about it. Like there is so much felt um, confidence and certainty that nothing is wrong with me and nothing ever has been wrong with me either. Like it's just I've had brief glimpses of that feeling. Like I have experienced that feeling and it was kind of fleeting. And I, to be honest, don't even necessarily know why it was possible for me to feel that way. And I don't even remember the conditions that it happened. But I have had moments where I was like, oh yeah, like that's not even a question. Like obviously nothing's wrong with me. Um, and so that's where we're getting back to. This also like connection is a huge part of this. Like a lot of people come into this community and talk about like I want to make more friends. Like my relationships aren't really that good. And like I completely understand you. Red here is like a really isolating experience because uh we have this experience being like I can't be my full self, so therefore I have to isolate, I have to be alone. Okay. So this is why we're so alone all the time. And when we're really thriving, when we're in purple, we're connected with others. And so part of green here is learning that connecting with others is safe by letting them in on like what's actually going on in my world. Okay. So just a bit on that. This is isolation. This is learning to connect as you are fully. This is the actual healing of the initial wound, like learning the thing you should have learned from like supportive parents when you were a kid. And purple is the life, honestly, it's the life you always knew was possible for yourself, but felt out of reach because of your childhood and because of your nervous system and sensitivity and feeling different and all that shit. Purple is possible. That's the message I have today. Purple is possible. I know it's possible. I'm not there yet, but I do know the path and I know exactly like what an individual person needs to do to walk that path. So here's the whole thing. This is what emerged during a client session. You can feel free to screenshot or you can like come back to it later. This is kind of my conception of like what is the path. Top one is if you do nothing, which again is fine. That's a choice. You can do that. Like I'm not telling you have to make this choice, but if you're ready to make that courageous choice, this is what is available to you. And here's kind of more information about it. We are wrapping up here. That was kind of the biggest of the things that I had left. So What do we need? Here's kind of the answer slide in a nutshell. If you're resonating with this, I'm not diagnosing you. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychologist. I'm a coach, and I'm a guy who is walking this path for myself and turning around and saying, like, who else wants to kind of get where I am now? If you're resonating, this is maybe what you need. I think it's the same thing as what I need. Understanding that the true root of not being our true selves in the world is an automatic nervous system defense that was developed from childhood emotional neglect from caregivers. So the nervous system is kind of trying to help in this old way that used to be helpful, and it's no longer helpful. It's a nervous system problem. It's not a thought or mind problem. We got to grieve all of that. You may need this. Grieving in a safe place with support. So this can mean with a therapist. It doesn't have to be with a therapist, in my opinion. That would be kind of the most like formal way to do this. I have done a lot of this work with my coach, and you could also do this with loving, caring, and listening people in your life who can hold space. Basically all you need is to be in these big emotions and big memories and remain connected to another human being and see that like love and being heard and being understood is possible, because right now it feels like it's not possible. Okay, so this is part of what I do for my clients is like I'm committed to hearing you, listening to you, not judging you as you walk this path and uh, get into the depths of like all this shit that has happened to you. What else might we need here to walk this path to get into purple? Feeling those repressed emotions in a safe place with support, and eventually sharing these emotional experiences with trusted others. You don't have to start this way, but you also don't have to do this alone. You like a lot of the healing, a lot of what will get you into purple is seeing that other people are safe and that you don't have to be like uh, avoiding or shielding yourself or protecting or feeling anxious or feeling depressive or hiding or wearing the mask. Currently, it feels like those things are all really necessary because of the childhood patterns that are continuing. But this work, this grief, this allowing all of this stuff to come up is the healing.